Hey yo guys, how is it going? Tally here, and today I'm going to bring you 100 duels of Phantom Knights post Phantom Rage. I love this deck, I had a lot of fun learning and I'm going to keep playing it after the 100 duels. As always, please make sure to like this to support the video, please make sure to share this with all your Phantom Knight friends, and as always drop a hashtag for the algorithm in the comments. Let's dive right in. Here we are in game 1, and I do love a cheeky little Buster Lock, keeping them out of the extra deck and enabling some follow-up plays with the two Fog Blades. Then I decide to smack my opponent with the brand new Arc Rebellion to end the first game of the video, and it feels pretty dang good, so let's start the Arc Rebellion counter. And in game 2 I did not see the Dragoon coming, and while I'm not exactly happy about it, I guess I can let it slide. It is only duel number 2 after all, and mutants are kinda cool. And in game 3, I'm asking myself, how in God's green earth did I throw this match this poorly? I had everything I could have ever wanted, and instead I decided to not OTK, and end up costing me the game. I'd be lying if I said this wasn't my fault, but lessons learned, I guess. Game 4 is fine. Before I get the chance to kill them, they scooped, but we know my opinion on 3 wins by now. We're up against Skull Servant in game 5, and after being lightning stormed for 4, I really expected to OTK. I actually looked away from my screen and just let it happen. Turns out they ended on Link Rebo Pass, so of course I killed them. In game 6 I'm up against Prank Kids, and my opponent had Droll and Ash, and that is my goddamn worst nightmare. But I still play through it and I end on Dragon Buster and it goes brrr. In game 7 my opponent bricks and I brick slightly less. I didn't OTK, but I do leave them in a difficult position, and that's all you can ask for sometimes. Game number 8 we're up against Altergeist, and I thought this was a bit of an iffy matchup if I'm honest. Deck super normal summon reliant, a quick Silk could end the game, but in this one I pop their cards, negate their stuff, and I take the win. Hey, remember in game 8 when I said like, Silkwitus ends my turn? Yeah, that's what happened. And in game 10 I really tried, but I just didn't have the extenders to pull it off. Another swift loss. In game number 11 my opponent is literally drunk. Like, typed it in the chat, told me they were drunk. They were celebrating something, so I guess they're the real winner here, since the only thing I got to celebrate was winning game 11. In game number 12 I really expected my opponent to finish me off, since they had enough pieces to access Code Talker me, but they didn't, and I managed to bring out the best of dragons, and then they scooped. Game number 13 is up against Fabled. I set up the Buster Lock and 4 negates, so I don't think they're playing through that. Also a reminder, Dark Requiem, still a good boy. Game 14, I'm up against a Rock deck, and speaking of, I walked straight into an Ibiru because I'm a big dummy, but thankfully I very rarely get punished for my mistakes because I still have 3 negates. They punch me and deal a little bit of damage, but on my turn I end up doing more damage while setting up some interaction, and they just decide to scoop them up. In game number 15 it's my opponent's turn to get Nibiru'd, and they play through it pretty well with a set Solemn Judgment. If I played my cards a little better I might have had something, but I don't think so, so they'll take this one. Game 16 had a fun back and forth. I expected to lose a couple times, and I would if not for Dark Ruler no more. Eventually I took this one with the king himself, Big Daddy Arky. Game 17 we're up against Cyber Dragons, and I set up the classic combo, locking them out of the extra deck and essentially ruining their game plan, and I've got some back row to help that too. Now that we're in control of the game, our opponent sets 2 and passes, and then they lose. We've got a different Cyber Dragon player in game 18, and it's my turn to T-set, and it kinda worked out. I made some good plays and some bad ones, but ultimately I took this one with a bit of determination, and them leaving a 500 attack on vanilla on field didn't hurt too much. I'll be real, I played game 19 terribly. Really could have smashed it, but I just decided to act like a FUD and not do that. But it's alright, I'll get them in the next one. Now this is what I'm talking about in game 20. We're popping and rocking and absolutely topping, and our opponent just cannot play through 7 negates and a pop. It's just not happening. Holy fucking shit, I cannot believe that I just lost to Sacred Beast. To be honest, he did hit me with a Dark Law, and that is the best card in the game, so I can't say much, but yeah, let's never talk about this again. Game 22 was a bit more my liking. I took control of the game very aggressively, set up lots of plays for next turns, they had very little resources, and it was a convincing win to me here, because I never lose to Sacred Beasts, okay? Never. Game 23 was another clear-cut win. My opponent didn't know that Gamma isn't once per turn, and also must have not known that it banishes itself in the end phase. Doesn't really matter though, we set up the standard board at this point and punch for damage. Since they have no resources, it's a good game for me and a GG to them. In game 24, I'm up against UA, and there's only one UA that I care about, so I go plus ultra, break their board, and smack them with the coolest deck to come out of Arc 5. In game 25, I just went and did it again. Game 26 was going to go alright, but they top decked 2 Imperm off a Pot of Desires, and I'm going to be real, that one sucked, but it is what it is I suppose, and we'll just, you know, try harder next time, we just won't get Impermed. And here we have a growing machinima just looking to make online content about Halo, but then they just decide to commit scoop. And in game 28 we have the newly born Machinima Respawn, and they just want to make Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 videos. But I said nah, and now Machinima Respawn doesn't exist. Game 29 we're up against Invoke Dogmatica. This went okay, they opened up poorly and Busterlock did some damage to Alistair. I pushed for a little bit of pressure and they scooped him up, which is fine to me. Game 30's up against Shadol and we Busterlock Shadol! I see now I feel bad for laughing at them, because in game 31 they absolutely destroyed me. The Schism was my real downfall if I'm honest. Fucking Winda. Okay, so let's slow down. At this point, I actually decided to change up the deck a little and increase the ceiling a bit more. I found out that the combo for Rusty Buster actually can end on Rusty Buster Dragoon, and that's just better, so we're going to do that from now on, or we're going to try. Game 32, we're up against Dino, and here we have an example of Dino not being super sacky for once, because they decided to end on pretty much nothing. I won't complain though. And in game 33, the funny Dino man go brrr, and all my monsters are flipped face down. Haha, in game 34, Fogblade goes ooh, and my monsters go pop pop pop, and then I win. Fuck you, dinos. Game 35 was up against Constellars, and this one wasn't too hard. They were annoying, I wouldn't say difficult, and Dragoon is just obviously broken, so that won me the game. And in game 36 I forget that Honest is a card, and from here I just kinda spunked away my resources and lost. And I won in game 37, but it took a bit longer than it really should have. I got there eventually, it just took a little finagling, but definitely longer than it should have. Game 38 I'm up against Mermail, and with the introduction of Dragoon, the deck is really linear. Just turbo out Bardiche and Dragoon and you've got 3 easy negates and a win. Game 39's another one that just took way too long. Like, I don't know, am I just not very good at killing people with this deck? and it really stressed me out, but eventually we took it. But it really stressed me out. We're off to the theatre in Game 40 to see some Abyss actors, and they see me popping off and they just decide to exit stage left. Game 41, we're up against DDD and they drop the big boy Kali Yuga on me, negating everything but not going for the kill, so on my turn I decide that I'm going to negate all of their cards too with Arc Rebellion and we take the win. In Game 42 I decided to take a dip in the deep blue and found someone who's spamming rank 4s in the depths of the ocean. Baited that negate with Verte and made a bad play, but I don't really suffer any consequences, so then I spam the board and take the W. And we're up against Fluffle in Game 43, and of course my opponent can't play as good as I did because I played 100 duels with the deck, on screen now. So we're just too strong and we win. And in Game 44, okay then, it's one of those ones. And in Game 45 I'm up against my Phantom Knight brother. I have pretty much everything I want and I could have ended it quicker, but I just knew that they had no chance anyway. If they hadn't already popped off, they simply weren't gonna. They were quite impressive in Game 46, they just had the best luck, kept extending, kept making plays, and I can't be mad. I did stop all of them of course, and went absolutely ham, and if they didn't scoop, I absolutely would have ended them. Game 47, my opponent just summoned a dude, went AFK, and I took the very obvious win. Game 48, back up against Invoke Dogmatica, and this one's just awkward. They had more hand traps and I needed more gas, and I had neither. I'll be real, I just could not be bothered in Game 49, so I just scooped them up. Game 50, we're up against Ancient Warriors, and they are not doing anything to this deck. This one was fun, and I'm not feeling great about using Dragoons so much, but it makes the deck win more, so why would I not abuse it? In Game 51 I'm up against Blue Eyes, and I'm yet to meet a good Blue Eyes player on Edo Pro, so if you want to prove me wrong and take me on in the next 100 duels with Blue Eyes, or just any deck really, tweet me at TCG_Tally and show me what Blue Eyes or your deck can do. Game 52, we're still up against Blue Eyes, and this is another simple one. This deck can be really fun with its turn 2, turn 3 plays, especially with so many quick play monster reborns turning into pops. Game 53, I do my usual, I walk straight into a giant rock, hurt my head and scoop him up because I'm in a lot of pain, and my opponent is definitely going to win this one. And I should have lost Game 54, but they didn't shotgun Dark Ruler no more, and I would have lost this if they did. The only thing that saved me was the Buster Lock and them not playing well. Game 55, I set up 3 negates and they top deck Ash for turn. They probably wanted another extender, and I know the pain of not seeing an extender when you need one, and we take the win. And in Game 56 they see the extenders. I probably could have played my own turn better, but I didn't, and I lost. But it is what it is, I suppose. Game 57, I'm up against Trap BA, they don't really pick up momentum quickly, and despite them putting up a fight, they just don't have the gas to out everything I've got. Same again really in Game 58, my opponent needs a little bit of time to gain momentum, but by turn 2 or turn 3, my deck is fast, and it's just outrunning them. Well, in Game 59 I'm not really happy to say that I should have lost to Dark Magician. I didn't leave myself a discard in hand, and then they wiped my board. All I had was a Dragoon, and if they'd kept the Super Poly, I would have lost. But they didn't, so I won. I don't really know what they're doing in Game 60, it's another easy win for me, and you do know I love easy wins, it makes scripting and editing really easy. Game 61, I'm up against Invoke Dogmatica again, and this one went pretty dang well. Got the best out of my resources and managed to make some really good plays. This ended with a sweet dark Requiem punch to the face. Game 62 went really well as well. I feel like more experienced opponents would have hit better cards, but I can't control what they do. But what I can control is my huge dragon, and it does lots of damage. Game 63, I'm up against frogs, and I'm gonna be honest, they stole my normal summon and I scooped. It was late at night, I wasn't trying to play through that. And Game 64 didn't go so great. I could have played this one better by going with the PK starters, but they ashed my tour guide and I just lost. It's as simple as that. And in Game 65 I just didn't draw the right cards, and that's kinda sad. Game 66 we were up against Cosmo, and turns out they have a pretty easy out to Dragoon. This one was a bit of a back and forth, but in the end my big spicy dragon decided to ruin them. Jesus Christ, in Game 67 they had D-Barrier, Super Poly and Skill Drain. Well, fuck me I guess. Game 68 I felt the force and I sent them straight back to the moisture farm in Kansas. Game 69 could have went well, then it went horribly, and I was ambushed by a bunch of big orca whales, who are my mortal enemies by the way, make sure to ask me about it in the comments. And then I hit them with Big Dragon Arc Rebellion and I won, so it ended up going great. In Game 70 my opponent did the thing that you shouldn't do and went first with Fluffles. They bricked, I took advantage of that, and I won. Game 71 I'm up against Mutant, and there's no event here, they just scoop as soon as they start to see Dragoon, and that's, you know, that's okay by me. 3 wins and all that. Game 72 I'm up against Volcanic Eldritch, and they just wait the timer out. This is the second person in this video to do that. Weird. So here's how Game 73 went. I built a board, didn't negate properly, my board got broken. I rebuilt my board got broken. I rebuilt my board, and then I won the game because I punched them really hard in the face. I messed up badly in Game 74. This should have been a very easy victory, but I decided that I was getting really cocky, and I decided to forget that the Fire Tenyi exists, and I targeted Blue Eye's Ultimate Dragon, and I felt so much shame that I just scooped. Thank God for Game 75 being the Redeemer. I didn't play perfectly, but I played better than them, and I won, and that's all that matters. Playing up against a weird stun deck in Game 76, and Fogblade made them scoop. In Game 77 I'm up against Dual Avatar apparently, but I'm not seeing very many avatars, especially not Aang. Anyway, it doesn't matter, because I won this one. Well, in Game 78 my opponent combos off a little and I feel a real sting by drawing the Nibiru as my 6th card, but wait, it actually came in handy, and the token got destroyed because of their card effect. Big success and a fairly easy win. In Game 79 my opponent tries to T-pose on me to assert their dominance, and I say don't do that. So I assert my dominance by doing a combo and a half, and they eventually scoop, which is absolutely fine by me. Game 80 we're up against Nurse Burn in 2020, and his mother lover wanted to burn me to death. Doesn't he know that Dragoons can't be burned? That was a satisfying win. Game 81 they just drew a bunch of cards and then they scooped. Kinda sounds like Pendulum these days. In Game 82 I learned that Witchcrafters has a Dark Ruler no more with a booty. However, I have a big beefy boy and lots of extenders, and I can understand them quitting. Game 83 we go up against our resident Ra player and they scoop really early. In Game 84 I just didn't see my starters. They just didn't really have much and I just didn't see my starters, which makes me sad. Game 85 and it's the third time someone just waits out the clock. Like, yeah, 3 wins and all that, but come on, play the game. Game 86 I drop a Buster Lock on Zoo and they can't do anything about it. Well, by now I really should learn to not laugh at people because I always end up losing the next game. I didn't keep the Buster Lock in, which would have been a definite win, and I ran Dick first into Nibiru. Game 88 I won, but probably by sheer luck. I decided to get cocky with a combo and I ran straight into Nibiru again, but then I just kept comboing and my opponent scooped. They must have been really scared of my big weenie energy. In Game 89 I spy with my evil eye something that begins with D. That's right, Dragoon. Game 90 I'm going up against Hieratic and this was a cakewalk. They lose to the Buster Lock and Dark Requiem sealed the deal. Game 91 I'm up against Speed Droids and I've never really seen them do well in this series either. Winter kills would be ashamed. In Game 92 I'm up against something weird, game lasts a couple of turns and then I win. Game 93 I'm up against a weird deck still, and honestly this player might just be new and that's okay, because they shotgunned all of their negates on my first two cards and then I just combo off and win. Game 94 I'm up against Plunder Patrol, and my opponent did brick and they did have a couple of hand traps, you know, they've got a little bit of interaction, but lucky for me I was taking my big brain pills that day and I took an easy W. Well, in Game 95 I made some real misplays, but I just kept comboing off and eventually my opponent scooped and that's okay, I was just doing it to scare them anyway, but I had the easy win. Game 96 I'm up against Zombies, I set up the Buster Lock, they don't really have any way to play through it in any way, shape or form, so I take a very convincing win here. In Game 97 I dropped a rather large rock on them, and I won, and that was great. Well, you know how much Verhire upsets me, so in Game 98 I took much pleasure in setting up lots of negates and having them end on nothing but a Nightmare Phoenix. Game 99 wasn't super eventful. I set up the standard board and they scooped, and they called me a monkey. That one kinda hurt. Like, I get it, yeah, the whole Dragoon thing, you know, monkey card, but I don't know, it just kinda rubbed me the wrong way. And for Game 100 it would not be me if I wasn't playing straight into hand traps. Eventually though, they ran out of steam before I did, and I took a very well earned victory. They did have a bit of bad luck with their draws, but that's the game, and honestly it could have went either way, but it went my way, and that's all that matters. Okay, so it's time to wrap up and I'm going to go off script here. I love this deck, I really do. I love Arc 5 unironically, and I love Phantom Knights. I love Dark Requiem Xyz Dragon, I love Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon, I now love Arc Rebellion Xyz Dragon. I love this deck. However, I will not lie, while it had some pretty good results, I don't think it's the best deck ever yet, at least my build isn't anyway, so I'm going to have a lot of fun continuing to test out this build and continuing to adapt and grow and evolve it. I really hope that you enjoyed this. I'm really excited to see where this deck goes. Let's take it to the outro. Guys, that is the video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed 100 Duels of Phantom Knights. Let me know if you want the deck profile down below in the comments section. As always, you have been amazing. I have been Tally. I will catch you all later. Bye.